cocaine. Americans are addicted to addiction. At any given time, 15 million of us are in some kind of recovery program. Alcoholics Anonymous was the first of these self-help programs. Their basic approach, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. That philosophy keeps the doors of 10,000 other treatment centers open, taking in as much as $143 billion a year. AA is not the only option. Recovery can take several paths, but before taking the first step, it can seem quite hopeless.
I couldn't stand me anymore. I wanted to kill the person in the mirror, and I couldn't do anything. Nothing was available to me. That afternoon, I put the gun in my mouth, and I was going to blow my brains all over the wall.
I was in my last year of psychiatry residency in Arkansas. I was using 12 different drugs on a daily basis and had been for about the preceding 2 to 3 years. Cocaine was my drug of choice, intravenous cocaine.
I knew the police were after me, and eventually one day while I was in Sears Roebuck writing a check for a TV set that I could trade for some drugs, I was arrested.
Whether you live in Harlem, whether you live in Beverly Hills, drug epidemic, it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's a death thing. And death doesn't care what color you are.
When I do cocaine, you know what I get? I get paranoid, man. You know from what? I'm thinking I get AIDS every time I take a shot.
Yeah?
I get so scared, man.
Yeah.
And I do it anyway.
Of course.
And every time I do it,
that's how powerful this is.
yeah, that's why I need professional treatment. I can't do it on my own.
Recovering from addiction with Willie Oswald and Deborah Dreesy. Joining us now are Jack Trimpey, founder of Rational Recovery, and Julian Neal, a pioneer in the field of yogic recovery. Debbie, before we move on, which programs have you been in? Can you just reel them off pretty quickly?
I've been Alternative Recovery Center. I've been to the Matrix Center. I've been to the Betty Ford Center. I've been in a few halfway houses, and I'm now in a sober living house.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Jack, is there anything wrong with the AA 12-step type program? It helps a lot of people.
Not if you're inclined towards it. What I wanted to ask her is how many of those programs had a lot to do with the 12 steps?
Basically all of them except the Matrix Center.
Now, Ron, this is the problem that many, many people in America are facing. At Rational Recovery, we get calls from thousands and thousands of people just like her who are saying, everything that I do has to do with the 12-step. Is this a 12-step program? And I say, well, no. They say, are you sure this isn't a 12-step program? Because they've gone from one program to the next, and it's all the same old thing, where you first of all admit that you're powerless, which for many people is the worst thing to do, and then say that because I'm powerless, I have to have a higher power, which many other people are just incapable of doing. So we have many, many people who are going without relevant care because the 12-step program has come to completely dominate the American addiction care system.
How does it dominate?
Well, if you ask her, she will explain.
Debbie,
everywhere you go.
Well,
everywhere you go.
I personally believe, like the rationalized type of thing, like Matrix Center, for example, compared to the 12-step program. You know, the 12 steps, the bottom line, because you can't do it alone. You know, a Matrix Center, putting a rubber band on your wrist, or a rationalized thing, you know, changing rooms or going down a different street to throw your thinking off doesn't help if you're in practice.
This is what you're in now, the Matrix?
No, I'm not in that. I don't find that's possible.
No. What are you in right now?
Now I'm in the 12 steps.
You're back in the 12 steps.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, she's tried them all, and she says nothing works.
You know, Rational Recovery is a group of people. Yeah, we are a group of people.
So just, you know.
What is Rational Recovery?
Yes.
Simply a group of people who have been to AA. About 99% of us have been to AA. And we find that by doing about the opposite thing that each one of the 12 steps say, we get better quite readily. By first of all, challenging to the very root of it this idea that I am incompetent to choose what I put in my mouth, that I'm incompetent to take control and defeat the addiction on my own. The idea of being dependent on a higher power is not the way that we do it. Now, many of us believe in God, We attend churches, we have a spiritual interest or whatever. When it comes to depending on a rescuing deity or some higher authority on earth or other people, that's not how we do it. We do it on our own.
Debbie, you wanted to jump in there.
Because I find that it's not becoming dependent on something. I mean, we were dependent on drugs, and we need to depend on something that's going to keep us clear away from going back.
Right.
And if you don't depend on something greater than yourself, then there's nothing to do.
Yeah, now that's the way that it looks to many people. Now, fortunately, there are two kinds of people and two programs for those groups of people. If you're inclined to be dependent on higher powers or rescuing deities or groups of people, then that is a fine way for you. Many people, in fact, the majority people, leave the 12-step program with very specific objections, very specific reasons in mind. Most of it has to do with the religious aura and the dependency, the lifetime dependency.
Let me speed you up here a little because I
required.
want to get to Julian, and so you won't be mad at me that I left you out this segment. Is yours an alternative to rational recovery and AA both?
Yeah. The recovery that I work with has to do with yogic technology, which is a science which heals and cures.
Is God involved in this at all?
Only on a personal level if you want it to be. It's not a religion, it's a science. Yoga is a science, the oldest science known to men, 5,000 years old, but more powerful today than ever.
And how does it help people recover from addiction?
Well, it changes not only your physical energy, but the mental. There are meditations that we do that work on the central brain, which change the rhythmic reflex, which cause addiction. So it cleans it out.
So meditation is a central part of this?
Essential.
Okay. All right. Addiction is expensive, so is treatment. We'll be back with a doctor who helps recovering addicts get back on their feet financially after this.
This bag costs about $1,000 on the street. This bag costs $4.25.
We are back. Our topic is recovery from addiction. Now welcome Dr. Joyce Reagan, a therapist and tax attorney. Excuse me. Did I pronounce your name right? Repon.
Yes, most happy to be here.
Well, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. You have one of those names that drive people like me crazy because we have to read them off cue cards and things. One of the byproducts of addiction, of course, is financial trouble or ruin if you're not wealthy, I suppose. And a lot of addicts, I guess, don't know that there is such a thing as a financial recovery program. Can you explain it to us?
Well, I think of the financial recovery program as the last step. You've gone through the hard part. You've given up whatever your problem would be it alcohol or drugs. And you've got to get on your feet, and it's a wonderful world out there when you're on your feet. So you more or less have to start over, because usually you've damaged yourself beyond anybody's description.
Now, the IRS thinks it's a wonderful world, too, and they might be interested in too many excuses about, well, I was...
Well, no, the IRS is most kind. I think we all got to be fair. They, too, suffer from addictions. They, too,
Yes, they do. Compulsion with reaching into our wallets, I think. Yeah.
Oh, I think when we go to AA or CA, we see these people everywhere there. I think there's a mistake in our society that we don't know how to pull their strings, because they have every problem that we have in their own home lives, in their families, and we just have to know how to make them work for us when we are in recovery.
I'm an addict. I'm on the way back. I've got no money. I owe the IRS $50,000. The creditors are after me. What do I do?
Well, let's make some common sense decisions. Is it so bad that we should consider a bankruptcy? Let's start over. The Bible says we can. So does AA. So do all the self-help groups. Let's consult a bankruptcy attorney to see if it would work for us. We only go to a bankruptcy attorney if we learned the lessons of our past, that we're not going to repeat these mistakes again. We want to make a fresh start. So we explore the option, is this right for us to cancel our debts including our taxes, yes, it might be.
How can you be sure an addict is fully recovered? It goes through, I mean, Debbie's been out of a lot of these programs. She could have come to you after every time and said, you know, get me back on my feet, and then I'm...
I've had a lot of hope in Debbie since I've seen what's transpired during the last session. But she's trying, and if she makes a slip, she'll try. And so we'll be most happy to help Debbie.
All right,
in any way.
If you're an alcoholic, if you're an addict, you want financial help, who do you contact? What's the organization we're talking about here?
Well, I don't know if it's an organization so much as a plan for yourself, and the plan for everybody in recovery should be, I've gotten this far, I'll get a little bit further with the help of whatever power, higher power, my own ingenuity or whatever, but I'll work out of this. It's not insurmountable. One day at a time, one step at a time, but I'll work out of it.
Well, I don't have enough ingenuity to fill out my tax return form, so if you're an addict, an alcoholic, again, and you want some sort of help in financial recovery, who do they go to?
Well, in the beginning,
do they go to you?
There's H&R Block in the beginning. It's one step at a time. It's whatever you need to get out of it. If H&R Block doesn't work, then you find a tax consultant, or you get a little higher in the process of getting help.
So there is no specific organization devoted solely to helping an addict recover
No,
financially?
absolutely not, because I think addicts in recovery scratch from pillar to post to get on their feet, just as they did in the process of recovery, in trying to get on their feet. But I want to say something to addicts and people that are in recovery. The penalties will be canceled by the government if you can prove the illness. Okay. You'll pay the taxes and the interest.
Well, you bring up a very important issue, and that's the sickness versus, is it a sickness, is it a lack of willpower? Jack, what do you think?
Well, if I had a debt that might be canceled, I would want it very much to be a disease. Do you understand? Now, on the other hand, if I'm simply interested in recovering from an addiction, it doesn't make any difference at all whether it's a disease, because the solution is the same. In other words, just
do you think it's a disease, or is it something else?
I think that's the red herring of the 20th century, Ron, because if it is one, the person had better stop drinking. And if it's not a disease, then the person really had better stop drinking.
Okay, well, either way. Julian, disease?
I don't classify it technically as a disease. It's people who are addicted to whatever they're addicted to, whether it's an ingestive substance like drugs or alcohol, coffee, cigarettes, or it's some other kind of addiction like an activity, gambling, sex, alcoholics. All of these things come from pain that happened at one time, and using the only tool that was readily available to fix it.
I don't find that true. I'm sorry.
Why not?
I don't find that true.
What's your argument with that position?
Because I was in no pain. You know, I was very well loved, and I had everything I possibly wanted, and pain had nothing to do with using.
I think she's right.
Maybe in the long term, after the shame and the guilt, and you want to cover that up by using, but in the beginning, I was 12 years old. What kind of pain can I have at 12 years old?
Well, there's some
people, yeah, but I'm one of those people who didn't have that kind of pain.
What I mean by pain is the damage to your sensitivity on some level. You were looking to change something in your consciousness, in where you were, whether it was getting high because you wanted to elevate yourself, you wanted to expand yourself, you were looking to move into a different plane of existence at one time. For whatever reason, whether it was
directly... The idea being something was missing, you wanted to fill the void with drugs. We got to go to a commercial. We'll be right back.
You know, a drug dealer is the worst kind of brother, man. He won't give it to his sister, he won't give it to his mother, but he'll sell it to one of his boys on the streets.
We're back. We're back with a very, very eager audience here. Yes, ma'am?
I wanted to ask Debbie if she ever felt she'd rather die than get loaded. Felt that way, that strongly about it.
Yeah, I've had that feeling, but it doesn't last long, and that's what I'm scared of, you know? That the desire comes and goes. You know, one day you're really willing to do anything, and the next minute, you know, you're just all about, oh, forget it. So it's something that you really need to concentrate on a daily basis, because you never know when that urge is going to come up, and that you have something to fall back on.
That's,
She's not really
well,
ready.
when you're really ready, you'd rather, you know, you'd rather die than get loaded one more time.
Well, I had a heart attack on March 18th. Hospital, I wanted to get high again. So it's like, it's hard to answer. It's really hard to answer.
Debbie, you've been in alcohol recovery programs and drug recovery programs separate from one another, right?
Yes.
One alcohol, one. And you've learned how to manipulate the people in these programs, haven't you? You
Yes,
admitted
I
it
have.
when we were. Well, how do you go about that? And is it different for an alcohol program or a drug program? Is it a different process of manipulation that you go through?
I think a drug addict is more, my personal opinion, is more cunning and more manipulative than an alcoholic, because we have to go through a lot of work than just go to the liquor store. You know, it takes a lot of work.
Survival of the fittest for an addict. Okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask everybody that was recovering, all you guys that are recovering from alcohol and addiction, what was your bottom? What made you think, oh, I got a problem, I need to do something about it? I mean, because some people go on and they still don't think they have a problem. What made you guys decide something is wrong here?
The rock bottom for each of you. Debbie,
Well,
you haven't hit it yet, I guess. we've determined that.
Well, I know living downtown LA is no fun. You know, living on downtown Skid Row is no fun. You know, and you know, everybody has different bottoms. Your bottom can be in your bedroom, emotional, physically, mentally, financially. You know, there's all kinds of different bottoms, so it's really hard to say.
Were you an addict also?
Yeah, I had my addictions. My life just got away from me, out of my control, really. The details are not as important as the fact that now I'm master of what I do.
Doctor?
Doctor had problems.
What was the low point for you?
Well, the lowest point was realizing that I couldn't control my problem and that I had to get myself together. I was in
control then was the real issue for you?
I don't know it was. I think of myself as Kitty Dukakis. I admire her so much, but I basically had the Kitty Dukakis problem. So I had to take a firm hold. And out of my own recovery has come a wonderful work in helping others. So I instantly went into the 12th step.
Jack, were you an addict also?
Yes, I was dependent on alcohol for many years and went downhill like many people do. I found that it did not really make sense. It's not really me. So I then took control of something that I had been not controlling for a long time. I learned that I was talking to myself about drinking in such a way that led me to continue to drink. For example, I am powerless over what I put in my mouth. I have no choice. I have a disease of some kind. When I got rid of those ideas and took personal responsibility for my own drinking, then I could say, no, I'm not. And any more thinking that I have in my head that supports any more use of alcohol is my own personal enemy. That's rational recovery.
Okay, Willie, lowest moment? Your lowest moment, I think, was the gentleman's question.
I think when I realized they didn't have enough heroin or cocaine to keep me happy any longer. I mean, it just wasn't working for me any longer.
Okay. Yeah.
This question is directed at Jack. Are you atheist?
I would like to point out to the audience, I'm being given a religious test. This gets back to Ron's observation that religion has become a very central part of addiction care. Now, as a matter of fact, I don't have a higher power. I told you that already. But the idea that I'm repeatedly, as a professional person, asked if I'm an atheist or believe in God, I think signifies big trouble in America. I think there's a constitutional crisis brewing right now. Are being sent to court-mandated programs where they're given religious instruction because they've violated the law. They are asked that question too. Do you believe in God? Have you let go and let God? Have you turned it over to your higher power? This is not good for America. And rational recovery is a balancing force now, just like the Republicans and Democrats, where people have a choice in the road to get better.
Yes.
in rebuttal to Jack, if you can afford...
How did I know this was...
If you can afford treatment centers, then you can basically choose what kind of treatment you can seek. But for those that are less fortunate, it takes upon the Christian organizations to give an opportunity.
Yes.
And of course, the Christian organization is going to emphasize on God.
Okay, now rational recovery. Let me point out briefly here.
Hey, I want to get into this question, and
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people here have questions and disagree with some of the people back here, but first, we've got to go to a commercial. We'll be right back.
I guess you know, I did it for a long time. And the truth of it is, you can go crazy, you can go to prison, you can die, or you
Question of God, religion, spirituality, whatever seems central to this issue, at least for a lot of people. Yes, ma'am.
Yes. I'm Jack's wife, Lois.
Oh.
And I...
So you take issue with everything he has to say, I guess.
I disagree with everything he says, right? No, I just wanted to point out that good deeds and good services are not limited to the Christian churches. Rational Recovery has in groups in 225 cities, and we all have a residential program as well. Our groups are free. We have professionals involved in every group, as well as lay people. All these people are pro bono. We've invited the professionals to come out and use the skills that they have. We are inviting the academic and professional communities to be involved because they know things and they have many things that they can offer to recovering people.
Mm-hmm.
And we do recover.
Yeah.
We're not recovering forever.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Well, and I also wanted to say that I'm associated with a facility in Arizona that's a residence program that has 12-step meetings available but uses a holistic approach to treatment, which involves yoga and herbs and different kinds of holistic healing. We also work with the state on taking convicts or people that would go to jail as an alternative program, and it is not a religious-based organization.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is not, we are not selling that.
God, of course, the subject of money comes up almost inescapably. And again, it sometimes seems to an outsider that if you're wealthy, if you're a celebrity, and you're an alcoholic or drug addict, you go to the Betty Ford Center and you get your picture on the news. If you're poor, you go to jail, where, again, the best drugs
but there are
so
programs, and now there is alternative sentencing, and there are programs, as I say, that will take you and sponsor you, that the state runs in different states.
Yeah, if I'm in jail, recovery is one of those alternatives?
In many states, they are doing that. Like I said, this is a two-party system. RR has parity with AA in all matters. We speak with equal authority. Now, in this audience, it's predominant. There's a lot of booing when I speak for my people. I represent hundreds of thousands and millions of people who are unable to work the 12-step program. So we just say, well, if the 12-step program does not make sense to you or seems religious, call RR. Will be on
and it's absolutely free. I show up on your
it's
doorstep.
Free. We are a non-profit organization, the same as AA in form. And they have the big book, we have the small book, which tells the whole story from another point of view.
So Avalon Treatment Center, is that free, Willie?
No, it isn't. It's a hospital.
How much money do I need to get in there?
You need a lot of money.
You know, I personally believe that I've been to Betty Ford, I've been to Alternative Recovery Center, and it costs a lot of money, and just because it has a name on it or a brand name, that doesn't mean that it's good. You know, that there's people coming out of Cry Health or Acton or other places like that where they spend a lot of time there and it is county funded, but they get a lot out of it, more so than a 28-day program where you're eating a good meal and you're paying $284 a day to be there and you go out and relapse. You know, now, though it depends on the individual, it does depend on the individual, but they make those places all la-di-da-da and everything's wonderful, tennis this and pool that, and it's, you know, that helps, you know, to do the yoga and to do this, you know, to fill in your time. But the bottom line is you go to meetings and you work the steps and you'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
started to say that hospitals are expensive, and mostly people that get into them are people that carry insurance policies. It's not a lot of out-of-pocket money these days, and insurance companies are getting they're paying a lot less nowadays, too.
What if you don't have insurance? I didn't have insurance.
Good question.
Okay, now, the RR residential program is the lowest price in the industry. We accomplish that by getting rid of the doctors. Addiction is not a medical problem.
You say the lowest price in the industry?
Yes,
I thought you
is.
were free. Or is that what you mean?
No, it is very low price, though. It's under any other program.
How the residential program costs how much?
$3,400
a
month.
Month.
28 months.
That's considerably more than free. It's
no,
true.
Yes, yeah.
I just wanted to say to Jack.
This is not supported by the town.
I just wanted to say to Jack that you said about the booing part, and it's nothing personal. Trying to speak for the group that I came with, but it just all that counts is us getting sober and staying sober.
That's right.
You know.
Yeah.
So another thing I want to say to you about is about the guilt part. All of us feel a little guilt because I guess some people have more money than others. They don't have to go to a certain length to do things to get their drugs or alcohol. So I stole everything out of my mother's house.
All right. Is the guilt helping anything?
It brought something to me that I know I need help.
So
how does the guilt help?
You stole from your mother's house. You stole what? Television sets, things like that, and you felt bad about it. This is your mother's television set you're walking out with.
She went to vacation when she come home.
There's no TV. Yeah. Not to make a joke out of it.
I understand,
okay.
but I'm just saying that.
But did the guilt help? Did feeling bad about that help you get into a treatment program? Is I think what Jack is referring to.
Yes. And another thing, I knew myself I had a problem. While I'm out here using drugs, I'm neglecting my responsibilities to my kids, to myself, to my family, just to being in this world. It's a better life. You know, as a child, we had fun without drugs, and all of a sudden we get into this thing, and you didn't become an addict overnight, and you can't not become one overnight. You know.
I'd like to say we do have, RR has a great respect for AA, but we simply view position. We think differently on most issues.
This has become a big business lately, addiction thing. I see you, and I'll get you. Saw you're waving there.
Billions and billions, right.
Just a few, we got Overeaters Anonymous, Sexaholics Anonymous, Codependents Anonymous.
Self-abusers
Anonymous. Codependents of sex addicts. We also have that. Batterers Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Debtors Anonymous, Neurotics Anonymous, something called Emotions Anonymous, which escapes me. I don't know, but obviously it's I just don't understand what it is.
Think that they're sick, Ron, and that they have to go and do the 12-step program.
I don't like to think that I'm sick, excuse me.
Well, good for you.
You know,
good for you.
Because you know why? Because I wish I was different, but you know I am sick, and until I fully convince,
you don't look sick, though.
You know, I may not look it, but I am.
Ron,
but until I fully accept that,
may
can
be
I
a
do something about my
self-fulfilling
problem?
prophecy. Yeah.
Most of these groups are designed to give support to the person with the problem, to someone they can relate with on their level. Most of them are.
Yes, sir.
My name is Ray Jones, and I'm Associate Executive Director of a drug abuse prevention education program named Reach Out West End in Upland, and I'm just wondering if any of you had an opportunity as a child in the school system to be given prevention education. Do you think that would have helped? I know a RAND study recently said that prevention education is the way to cure the drug problem in this country.
Anybody get any kind of education in school?
I was told a lot, you know, don't do this. I mean, alcohol and, you know, there's different things. Let's go to a movie, but I chose to do that. I don't, you know, you can talk to us till we turn blue. We're going to do it anyway.
Yeah, I guess that's part of the problem. We have to go to another commercial, of course, and we'll be back after this.
Hey, little dude, send your mama and daddy out of the room. I gotta get you up on this. You know who I am. Snake, dealing in weed, coke, crack, your choice. Take one hit and you'll do anything to cop more. Steal from your mama, lie, cheat on your homeboys. But hey, that's the price you pay when you deal with dudes like me. Now, some folks will tell you that I'm dealing in poison. But hey, do I look like the kind of guy that would do that to a kid like you? Yes.
are almost completely out of time, but of course I want to thank my guests, Deborah Dreesy, Julian Neal, Dr. Joyce Raybon, Jack Trimpey, and Willie Oswald. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Thanks to the audience. We're out of time. We're out of here. See you next time.